My name is Adelaide. I'm 38 years old, and I have a husband, Gabe, and 2 children, Zora and Jason. We live in a small town, in a house that's big enough for all of us. Our life, it used to be simple. It used to be peaceful. But everything changed one summer. It started with a trip, a family trip to the beach. Gabe has been talking about it for weeks. We need to get away, he said. I don't know. I wasn't sure I didn't want to go. Something inside me told me not to, but I couldn't explain why. Still, I agreed. For Gabe, for the kids. When we arrived at the beach house, I felt it immediately. A strange, heavy feeling in the air. It was like the house was waiting for something to happen. The walls felt like they were closing in, even though the house was big, spacious. But the feeling wouldn't leave. I tried to push it out of my mind. We went inside, unpacked, and the kids ran outside to play, but I stayed in, looking around. Something about the house, it didn't feel right. The silence, the emptiness. It was too quiet. That night, after dinner, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the house, about the feeling that was still there. The house felt like it was watching me. The walls, the windows, everything felt like it was closing in. I needed to get out. I needed fresh air. So I left the house and walked outside. The night was cool, the moon was full, and the beach stretched out in front of me like a dark, endless sea. I walked down to the water, trying to calm my thoughts. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore helped, but still, there was something wrong. And then I saw her. At first, I thought I was imagining it. My heart raced in my chest, and my breath caught in my throat. I saw a woman standing in the distance by the water. She was facing away from me. She didn't move. She just stood there like a shadow. I told myself it was just a trick of the light, but then she turned. Slowly, I saw her face. My heart stopped. She looked exactly like me. I froze, my legs shaking beneath me. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. This wasn't possible. This couldn't be happening, but it was. She didn't smile. She just stared at me with cold eyes, no warmth, no kindness, just emptiness. And then she stepped toward me, slowly, methodically, like she knew I was too scared to run. I turned and ran. I ran back to the house, my breath coming in sharp, panicked gasps. I didn't look back, but I could feel her eyes on me, following me, watching me. I knew she was still there, watching, waiting. I burst through the door and slammed it shut behind me. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would explode. Gabe looked at me, confused. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice calm. "I saw her," I whispered, my voice shaking. "Saw who?" Gabe asked, still not understanding. "I saw me. There was a woman by the beach. She looked like me," I said, my voice barely a whisper. He frowned. "You're tired. You must have been imagining things." But I knew what I saw. I knew what I felt. The next day I tried to push it out of my mind. I didn't want to worry Gabe. The kids were running around, laughing, playing on the beach. But I couldn't stop thinking about her. I kept looking over my shoulder, half expecting to see her there, standing in the distance. Later, we all went for a walk on the beach. It was supposed to be a fun day, but I couldn't relax. I kept my eyes open, scanning the beach, praying that I wouldn't see her again. But then I saw them, a family, standing at the edge of the beach, a man, a woman, and 2 children. They were standing still, staring at us. I didn't want to believe it. But the man, he looked like Gabe. The woman, she looked like me. My heart skipped a beat. I grabbed Gabe's arm, my fingers tightening around his sleeve. "Gabe, do you see them?" I asked, my voice trembling. He looked over at them, confused. "What do you mean?" The man smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was cold, empty. And the woman, my double, she didn't smile at all. She just stood there, staring at me. My stomach turned. I wanted to run. I wanted to leave. I wanted to take my family and go as far away from this place as possible. But they weren't going anywhere. The woman finally spoke, her voice flat, like it was something she had practiced. "We're not here for small talk," she said. Her words cut through the air like a knife. I couldn't breathe. My body was frozen, my legs too weak to move. My mind was screaming, telling me to run, but my body wouldn't listen. We were trapped by people who looked like us. Who were we to them? Why did they look like us, and what did they want? I couldn't take my eyes off the family. The man, the woman, and the 2 children, they were still standing there, staring at us. I felt like the world had stopped. It was like we were trapped in some kind of nightmare. Gabe looked at me, then at the family. I could see the confusion in his eyes. "What do you want?" he called out, his voice steady, but I could hear the tension underneath. The man didn't answer. He just stood there, his eyes locked on Gabe. And then the woman, my double, spoke again. "We're not here to talk. We're here for what's ours." I didn't understand. My head was spinning. "What's ours?" I whispered, but my voice was barely audible. Zora and Jason were standing behind us now, their faces filled with confusion. "Mom, what's going on?" Zora asked, her voice small, scared. I didn't know how to explain. I didn't even know what was happening myself. All I could think of was how much danger we were in. These people, these copies of us. They weren't normal. They weren't us. They were something else, something dangerous. "Mom," Jason said, pulling at my arm. "What do we do?" I looked down at my children, and my heart broke. I couldn't protect them, not from this, but I had to try. I had to fight for them. I looked at Gabe. He was standing tall, but I could see the fear in his eyes now. I knew he felt it too. Whatever this was, it wasn't something we could run from. "Stay close," I whispered to Zora and Jason. "Don't move." But it was too late. The man, who looked like Gabe, stepped forward, slowly, deliberately, like he was in control of everything. He didn't say a word, but he didn't need to. I could feel it in my bones. He was dangerous, and he was coming for us. I grabbed Gabe's hand, my fingers trembling. "Gabe, we need to leave. We need to go now." But he didn't move. He just stared at them. I could feel his hesitation, the same fear that was creeping up my spine. The woman, my double, took a step toward me. I could hear the sand crunch under her feet, every step echoing in the silence. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. "We are you," she said, her voice flat, emotionless. "We are what you left behind." I felt cold. Her words made no sense, but I knew, deep down, I knew they weren't just talking about us. They were talking about something bigger, something dark. The other children, Zora and Jason, didn't understand. They were looking around, scared, confused, wondering why the adults were just standing there. They didn't know the truth. They didn't know that the people standing in front of us were not just strangers. They were us, our copies. "We didn't want this," the man said, his voice low, "but we have no choice." Suddenly, it all clicked. The pieces of the puzzle started to fit together. The woman, the man, they weren't just random people who looked like us. They were us. They were the parts of us that we tried to bury, the parts we tried to forget, and now they had come for what they were owed. My mind raced. I couldn't think. My heart was beating faster and faster. I wanted to run, but I knew we couldn't outrun them. These people, our copies, they were here for us, and they weren't leaving until they had what they wanted. "Gabe," I whispered, "what do we do?" But before he could answer, the woman, my double, stepped forward again. This time I could see the anger in her eyes, the coldness. She was angry. She was furious. And then she spoke. "We're here to take everything," she said. "Your life, your family, your future. All of it is ours now." I felt a chill run through me. These were not just empty threats, they meant it. They were going to take everything we had, and there was nothing we could do to stop them. I wanted to scream, but my voice wouldn't come. I wanted to run, but my body wouldn't move. I was frozen, trapped in this nightmare. Then, suddenly, the man, who looked like Gabe, lunged at him. He moved fast, faster than I could react. Gabe tried to fight back, but he wasn't prepared. I screamed. My heart was pounding. I turned to my children. "Run," I shouted, but Zora and Jason were frozen in place. Fear had a hold on them, just like it had a hold on me. The woman, my double, moved toward me. She smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was a smile that sent a wave of terror through my body. "You can't run from this," she said softly. "This is who you are. This is who we are." I couldn't breathe. The world was spinning around me. I felt like I was suffocating. The house, the beach, the sand, everything was closing in. There was no escape. I wanted to fight. I wanted to protect my family, but how? How could we fight against something so dark? Something so unnatural? Then, just when I thought it was all over, I heard Gabe yell. I turned to see him fighting with the man who looked like him. He was struggling, but he wasn't giving up. Gabe wasn't going to let them win. He wasn't going to let them take us. And then in that moment I realized something. We weren't going to let them take us. We were going to fight. We were going to survive. The struggle wasn't over. The nightmare wasn't over. But we still had one chance to win, and we weren't going to let it slip away. If you liked my story, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next story.